are at the main stage of green tech, and now we're talking about the hidden gem of future crops and vertical farming, enabled by lighting. Is that not right? Ellis Jansen van Bokstel from Signify is here with me, and we also have Ariad Ben Meyer from Future Crops, and it's a delight to have you both with us. We've had a lot of interest in this topic over the course of the sessions we've had here at Green Tech already, and of course the lighting in these future, not only future but present farms is really, really important. But give us a bit of context in terms of why we're calling it a hidden gem, Ellis.
Yes, I think Future Crops is one of the vertical farms already existing for a couple of years successfully. As Signify, we've been a part of their journey of setting up first a research facility and then an actual commercial farm, supplying fresh produce to the Dutch market, amongst others, but that's up to Ariad, of course, to explain. But it's really great to see that the journey from a research facility has grown into a large-scale facility already functioning for, I think, about 2 years now.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that is quite successful because we know that it's difficult to set up a vertical farm and be commercially successful. So that's, I think that's quite a performance, and we are really happy that we've been part of that and been there from the beginning.
Well, the whole of the sessions and everything we've talked about at Green Tech has been about co-creation and partnership, and it's very, very evident that the successful solutions and the successful business cases come out from working closely together, so that's good to hear. From your perspective, why is it a hidden gem, Ariad?
Well, we did try to think of what is the appropriate name for it, and it's located in the greenhouse, like the main heart of greenhouses. So it's a bit like the song of, if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. We try to go and say that if we can make it there, we can make it anywhere.
And you decided to try and do it in one of the most competitive places on the globe for, shall we say, horticulture in the Netherlands. So if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere as well, right?
Exactly. So really in the heart of tens of, hundreds of years of experience of the Dutch that have already improved greenhouses, have improved the light, has improved the irrigation systems. So smack on in the middle.
Good. Well, we're going to go to a quick presentation and use a couple of charts, Ellis, which you can help to show how you've approached this. And I'm very interested as well to learn about the triangle, but that's coming in just a second. So do you want to just guide us through this presentation?
Yes, well, what you see now on the screen is a picture actually of the production facility of Future Crops here in Poeldijk. So it's a really large-scale factory. We started the journey discussing what kind of crops Future Crop was planning to grow, and then of course lighting, next to other technical things, is very important to that. So we discussed the kind of crops, what lighting is needed for that, and then we developed a light recipe and a so-called growth recipe to support their wishes regarding produce. It's not just about lighting, that's always what we also say. It's an interaction with climate, with irrigation, to give the right nutrition, to make sure that you use the right substrate, to make it in the end a successful product. But lighting is crucial to that. And because we have our own research center in the Netherlands, we can trial things at our place and discuss, is this what you want, is this what you're looking for, what about another spectrum, different lighting hours. That's the journey we entered in.
I can only imagine the conversations that must have taken place. I mean, did it start with, a 50-page document with all the specifications you had to define? Explain that to me, Ariad.
It started like this.
Exactly.
A white piece of paper.
You come and you hear actually the agronomical standpoint. You understand what the plant needs. How does it fit? Now, how do we grow it optimal? Because also if you have to take a perspective for a minute, 5 or 6 years back, there wasn't a lot of information in the industry. There was a bit, but it wasn't there yet. Where we've seen huge improvements technological-wise, functional-wise, in terms of systems, in terms of flow of factories, we've seen a huge step forward. But at the beginning, as an engineer, you have to pinpoint down some variables. You need to start from somewhere. You start from a blank page, and then that's how we start with the lights. You have to pin down how much, what's the intensity, what's the right recipe in terms of spectrum, what is the, like Alice just said, how long the duration of lights on, lights off, etc.
So the questions to Signify are far more than how many bulbs can you deliver us?
Yes, I think that's in the end, that's where it comes down to. But for sure, before we get there, yeah, we need to have a lot of discussions. Otherwise, we might deliver not the right module, not the right spectrum, and then maybe it's a nice sale, but it's not a success. And I think this is a very young sector yet. So yeah, what we do, we need to do right, and rather take it a bit longer and investigate a bit more, or trial and error, than have a one-time sale.
Absolutely, but you have a very methodological approach to actually, forming that partnership, and you get your experts involved in a certain way. Would you like to introduce that to us? Because this is what I was referring to before, the triangle.
Indeed, you need to look very good to see the triangle in there, indeed. But what's in the middle, that's our grower. And in this case, it's Future Crops, and that's their business. So that needs to succeed. And then we want to advise as good as possible. And of course, we're selling lighting. So we have our application engineers that know a lot about lighting, light plans, how to create the right uniformity, right light level. Also to make sure that the crops grow in a uniform way. We have our plant specialist working in our GrowWise Center and working together with the plant specialist at Future Crops to discuss what are the characteristics of the crops they want to grow, the herbs or maybe other crops. So these characteristics you need to know to make the right spectrum and right recipe. And then in the end, it's nice if it's feasible and we know how to grow, but you also need to sell it.
Yeah,
and I
the
think,
business case.
Exactly, and that's quite a challenge, especially in the Netherlands, where we are really spoiled with good food from greenhouses. But still there is room for premium products. And I think that is also the part where the key account managers comes into place and discusses with the customer, or maybe opens up networks to have discussions with potential customers for sale.
Ariad, how easy was it then to read from the same page, before you were speaking the same language? Explain that from your side.
It doesn't just end there. It's not just the white page and we get some lights and that's it. We actually, if anyone goes into this and thinks it's easy, it's going to work, they're up for a lot of challenges. It always changes and you have to adapt. The light is one feature, but it changes so much other things. It would change the crop in terms of how much it dehumidifies, how much does it evaporate, how much then that affects the climate, and then you want to factor that stuff in. So that is part that we also discussed with Signify in terms of evaluating what would be those right numbers or figures to calculate all the rest. And also in terms of, we built the first R&D back in Israel 5 years ago in a small cubicle that doesn't look anything like we've done today, but it gave us the good reference in terms of yield. What can we put in the business plan? And that is also something that we work together with Signify's input on how uniform the light can be. How many units do we need? So it's also a big factor. How much capex do you calculate? What's the opex of it? What is going to be the electrical consumption of it? Doing those calculations are something that Signify can also bring to the table.
And then relate to and build the concept together.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just going to appeal to everybody watching from the office and from home at the moment. We really would like to have your questions here. Every single session we've had a lot of audience interaction, and we want that to be the case here as well. We'll let you guide and challenge the discussion here. We have quite a few minutes to be able to do so. So send us your questions through the web browser. So we were talking about, setting up things and how to do that and the collaboration process, if you like. What was on your next chart? Yeah. Okay, so some of the areas which are heavily influenced,
Yeah.
as Ariad has already started to talk about, and having to really look into all of this to be successful.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is your playing field then, Ariad.
Yes, it's actually we came with a strong agronomical background in terms of the people that we were working with at the beginning. We were cooperating with Israeli Government Agricultural Institute, and we were working also with Wageningen. So we came with quite a lot of knowledge, but at the end, it's having the right fixture. So it's kind of a bit of a, from an engineering aspect. I come from an engineering background, so it's a bit of a chaos theory. You change one factor, it changes everything, and you have to start again. So you do these iterations of doing the screening for the seeds, right lights, then you get the right optimum in terms of climate, and then you gradually build it up, and then you get to the right optimum, what the plant likes, and then you get at the end. It's not a yield versus quality. It actually goes together. You get a good quality, your plants will like it, you'll get more yield.
And are you using the power of digitalization to actually, use that data, digest that data, and help you guide your decisions, or how does that work?
Of course.
Yeah.
It's endless right now because there's so many variables that can change.
Yeah.
And there's so many things that need to change in order to improve, because you cannot stand still. You have to constantly improve. It's a new industry.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of sometimes invent the wheel, because not every farm looks the same. Okay, even if you say, okay, it's just a seed, I'll put it somewhere, it will grow. It doesn't work like that. You can if it's the different irrigation styles. If you do it, it changes everything. The atmosphere, the humidity in the room, it changes everything. So monitoring all of that, and then if you want to do it linearly, just a step at a time, test one thing, it will take us forever.
Exactly.
So you have to put sensors, you have to put data, you have to be able to monitor that, use BI tools, be able to really benefit from it, because at the end, it's endless.
Well, that data is really important as well for you to be able to help with the lighting concept and get things set up there.
And make new developments.
Yeah.
The experience we gain and they gain, that's very important for us again, to make sure, what is the next step in lighting, and indeed what's the next step in for the other systems. So that is, I think, also why it's really great that this is the hidden gem, but in the Westland, because you have access to a lot of knowledge on these specific topics like climate, like irrigation. So in that sense, you develop together also with the region, also with the horticulture sector.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so really driven by that. Have you found your perfect recipe then for the vertical farm? Do you know exactly how you want to do things for certain crops, or how far off are you?
That's spot on for which crop, because every time you change, even which type of seed you use, it can change everything.
Right.
Yeah.
But we have really gotten to a very good quality and yield, and we also see it. The customer likes it. We have big customers that we already have been selling for 2 years and expanding constantly. But it constantly changes. You cannot. That's what I said before. It's a new industry, and you cannot stand still. So you keep on pushing the boundaries, kind of pushing the limits. But the picture that we just saw of the side view, that's one level of a growing room.
Yeah.
The first slide that we saw, and that's the basil. And I think our basil right now is our MVP. We're selling it and we love it, and also new customers are really loving it. And we've also adapted some new types of basil, so it's not just the normal basil taste, but we also have different types, so cinnamon or lemon, which is...
Yeah.
And what role does the LED play in that?
It needs to be adapted to it, because we can find that the light intensity is not the right one, or the spectrum is not the right one. We took at the beginning, talking with Philips, Philips back then, now Signify.
Still Philips brand.
So we pick the overall best LED light, But today we have more testing doing with the dynamic module, seeing how we can do different plants to how to improve the existing plants.
Yeah.
So that gets fed back into your R&D laboratories and your testing facilities.
Yeah.
And there you're working things out. Also for individual clients, or is it more of a generic program then?
We try to be as generic as possible, because then it suits most, and then economies of scale can be hit. Yeah. So and I think what you see now is that the feedback we get and the needs we get from growers are more or less the same. So increase the light level, be able to control the colors, be able to dim down the lighting, because maybe in the beginning you don't need that much light. At the end you want to boost it to increase, for instance, shelf life or something. So the needs are often the same. I think via the triangle we try to customize them, because in the end their installation is unique, because they figured out the whole scale what works for future crops in their installation. So then you try to customize it as much as possible. But I think the general needs, like dynamic lighting, higher light levels, those we try to incorporate in our luminaires for everybody.
Yep. Okay, I'm not sure what's on the next chart, but I think we should talk about sustainability.
I can also add to that.
Yes, please, Arid, yeah.
We just did like a competition between our growing facility and Signify's test rooms.
I thought it was a collaboration, competition.
Well, that's how we sold it to the growers. So we gave our agronomist and your plant specialist, let's see who does best.
Yeah. And
so that's also something that we do together.
Yeah.
And I understood they ended at the same recipe, so that's a good thing.
It's a very good sign indeed.
But I had to come back to the title, how to be successful. I think what really worked for us is that we actually, the way we are set up is being, we find that same setup at the customer side, so that our plant specialists and there they can easily talk together. And I think that's also a key to success, that you speak the same language and you can indeed challenge each other and see what works best. And thank God we end up with the same result.
Definitely. So, cutting edge technology for profitable results. This is a lot of your processes and your steps and how you go through things. The 6-point model. Would you like to introduce that to us quickly?
Yeah, so this practically shows the whole line. Okay, so it's, and you asked about the recipe. Have we optimized that? So this is everything in it. So you have to, it's like when you look at a TV show and you see them cooking and it doesn't come out the same at home, because it's the products. It's your oven that is not the same. It's all of that. So it starts from the seeds. You have to have the right seeds. We've done endless screening and trying to see what is, in terms of flavor, in terms of suitable for vertical farm. Because we shouldn't forget that it's still quite new, and we see now companies going into seeds, but it's not necessarily that the same seeds that work outside will work the same here. So from seeds to the different stages of growth. So we have broken it down in terms of having the nursery, the growing stages of the growing cycle, and then trying to automate and improve harvest to reduce costs. And then also in packaging, how do you actually work with the customer? How does it look in the supermarket? What flavor do they want? What shelf life? Because we can also push those boundaries. And at the end, it's all about the customer. And we see it right now. We have more interest coming, not necessarily only from the Netherlands. We have a very big and very good cooperation with a big retailer in the Netherlands that we've been working for 2 years. And we see also now that we're working with other big retailers abroad.
Good. How good are you on lettuce? Do you have lettuce in your farm yet? Hydroponic?
We don't grow hydroponics.
Right. I'm going to move to Ellis then, because we have a question from the audience from Mao Louis, and that is, for the lighting needs of hydroponic lettuce, is there a big difference between the different varieties?
Oh yes, there is. Yeah. That's. I think that's where we started in the beginning, of course, growing lettuce, and actually we've done a lot of variety screenings with our seed partners. So yeah, I think we've got our own research center now for over 5 years in Eindhoven. I think we've screened, we developed at least over 100, 140 light recipes. If you look at the city farming recipes, they are a lot on different varieties of lettuce indeed. Yeah, and there are many varieties. So if you have a red oak lettuce, it needs a different light recipe to color red than if you have a frill lettuce, which needs to be more crispy. And yeah, those kind of things we've tested in the past. Also with other universities, for instance, to develop the right one. And I think if now we get these questions, we can relatively easy answer them.
Absolutely, thank you. Okay, so I hope that gave you a bit of information about lettuce and the needs when it comes to light. We have another question, but I'm going to come to that question in just a moment. Let me first just very briefly touch on the sustainability aspect of this. So you're bringing your basil and you're producing it and you're providing it far more locally, perhaps. Is that the basic principle?
100%.
Okay, what other sustainability factors do you have apart from cutting out the large logistics?
Right. So except for that, you're also reducing dramatically the amount of water that you use. We're trying to get, and we're improving it right now, and trying to get to zero drainage, to a point that we actually don't throw any water away. So whatever the plant takes up, we either use it or we can harness it, and either it turns into the plant itself or we can reuse it. So that in terms of water, that's optimizing. And we're constantly trying to also improve that you can do it whole year round, so you can have more of it. And also to supply more. But sustainability is definitely a key factor that needs to improve dramatically in all this vertical farm. So the technical aspect is improving dramatically. Lights have improved, I think, times 10 in the last.
I was just going to ask, because basically, rather than using the free sun, you're using energy to drive lights, and that must be a major cost factor, but also sustainability will give you a few minus points.
But the LED lights, for example, they are sustainable in terms of. Alice can explain that much better than me.
Now tell us.
Yeah, well, I think LED has the big advantage that it's already energy efficient. If you look at other sources of lighting, which have been used in the past, HID, for instance, in greenhouses or TL. So LED is by far the most energy efficient light source, but indeed it does use energy. And I think our challenge as a company, as a lighting company, is to make our lighting as efficient as possible. And that's a matter of LEDs. That's also a matter of designing the total module. And that's where a lot of research and R&D with our company is being used for, to develop the most efficient module that still is able to be color controllable, to be dimmable. And those are the elements we innovate upon.
But you're obviously very competitive in a very competitive market with this, so it obviously works. Good.
We've been doing it.
We have a question which is going into the future. Did you have something to add? Sorry.
I was going to say that when you improve the lights and you reduce their heat load, for example, then you also affect the climate control. So you have much less, and you can also optimize and improve the spectrum, which would reduce transpiration of the plants, for example, at certain stages. So you can also reduce the dehumidification that you would need. So you can constantly
has
play
positive
with it.
knock-on effects.
But I think it's a broader picture. So it's the LED lights affect it, and you also have to reduce it in terms of flow, in terms of the system itself, how you plan it out.
Good. Crops in vertical farms. We have a question from Marco Tidoni. Basically, when are you going to also be growing fruiting crops?
Great question.
What's missing?
I've got the recipe.
We got the room?
Yeah.
Actually, we don't have the room. We're supplying.
Maybe that's then the question.
Yeah, we're in the stage right now that we want to expand, but I think we still have a few thresholds that we have to push in order to be sustainable in terms of doing the fruits inside. But we do see a lot of berries. We see a lot of tomatoes, and we see cucumbers, all of those ones. being grown in vertical farms, but we still have, there's a lot of challenges in the whole like if you look at it as a business case, it's still not there because you need to improve on a lot of aspects in order to be competitive with, like we said, the Westland area that can do it so fantastically, but it's getting there.
Absolutely.
There's
So vertical farming is one way of producing, but there are many others which will help us then with the food supply.
I'm also sure it will get there.
Yeah.
The industry also, when it was...
Under certain circumstances where greenhouses, for example, or open, it's just not possible.
Of course, I think there will always be a good connection between them. There's enough market for everything, and the food demand is constantly going up, so there will be a niche for all of them. But also when we were growing, and we just talked about that yesterday, that also the open field growers didn't grow like they grow today. No. So we're in the midst of a very young industry, and it will get there. It's
exciting to hear. We're just going to have one word about the future for lighting, LED for the foreseeable future, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
Good.
Yeah.
And what else maybe you're working on? Maybe increasing the light intensity for certain crops?
Light levels, I think it's always interesting to get as much out of the LED module as possible.
Yeah.
So light intensity indeed, light levels. Also to be able to grow other crops, like indeed the fruiting crops, they need a higher light level. But I think also the fact that color controllable, dimmable, so that each customer can actually fine-tune their own recipe according to the growth stage and their crops. I think that's the future we need to work on.
Perfect. With those words, we'll say thank you very much to Ellis and Ariad. Very interesting, the hidden gem.
For sure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You.